I would just pause it for right now.
I'm looking.
Everybody be good now.
Hey, we all ready? Call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody to our Verona Borough Special Budget Meeting on November 22nd. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Stephanie.
Mr. Long?
Here.
Mr. Craig?
Here.
Dr. Carpenter?
Present.
Mrs. Showalter?
Present.
President Suchovich?
Here.
Mayor Recupero?
Here.
Mr. Flota?
Here.
And Ms. Provenza? Here.
And you're here.
And I'm here too.
Okay, at this time, I'll take any comments from the public on agenda related items only. Please come to the podium or raise your virtual hand. We have no-
Go ahead, Dave.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Dave.
All right, thanks. Dave Matlin, 722 Bruno Street. Just wanted to thank everyone for holding this meeting on the budget tonight. I'd like to welcome Stephanie in her new role here in Verona. I reviewed the budget posted yesterday, the draft budget. I sent Stephanie and council an email last night with some clarifying questions. I'm hoping most of those will be answered in tonight's meeting, but wanted to get them to everyone in advance. In the meantime, I have a couple or a few comments directed specifically for the 7 council members, since you are the ones who will have the tough decision to decide the final budget makeup as a matter of policy. I noticed that there was $13,000 in the budget for meetings and conferences, presumably for the Allegheny League of Municipalities 7 Springs Conference in April. We cut this from the budget the past 2 years due to our tight financial situation. Since this draft budget shows a $51,000 deficit, I think we should continue to cut this spending, at least for any elected officials. I think if council and mayor really want to go to 7 Springs, then you should each pay your own way. This budget also proposes funding the Verona Community Newsletter to the tune of $5,000. Again, given the current deficit and the proposed budget, I think this should be cut. I appreciate the newsletter and the hard work that Don Worf and other volunteers do put in to produce it, but it is a volunteer run effort and should not be funded by the taxpayers. The borough has enough challenges on its own hands financially. If the newsletter needs this much money, I think they should look to fundraising, GoFundMe, reducing printing costs, and/or increasing advertising costs. If the borough is funding it, I question whether the borough will end up being responsible or liable for the content or editorial authority. Also, this budget does not show any transfers to pay back the sewer fund. As of this past summer, the general fund still owed the sewer fund over $500,000. We've talked about it for the past couple of years, and the total amount here has shrunk a bit, but this liability is not going away for a very long time unless council takes action to repay it. There's also been a lot of talk in the past couple of years about establishing a minimum fund balance policy for the general fund. This would essentially mean setting a minimum level for the borough's rainy day fund. I know we've worked really hard the past couple of years to turn this fund balance from a negative into a positive, but there is still additional work needed to keep it at a healthy level. The current $51,000 negative general fund deficit is, as proposed for 2023, would eat away at this fund balance, and it is not a fiscally sustainable path forward. I think council should instead look to bolster the fund balance by establishing a minimum and dedicating enough funding in the annual budget each year to meet that number. Similarly, this budget shows a liquid fuels deficit of $27,000. Liquid fuels money is being used to pay for road salt and street lighting, which we've done in the past couple of years, and is an acceptable expenditure for that fund. However, I would caution council to consider offsetting that by using at least some general fund money, if not all of it, for the road salt, which is approximately $32,000, so that we don't drain the liquid fuels account too low. It might be wise to set a minimum fund balance policy, not only for the general and liquid funds, but the sewer fund as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Anybody else? Agenda related items? Yes.
Mike Rebecki, 716, Allegheny River Boulevard, Mike.
Perfect.
Mike Rebecki, 716 Allegheny River Boulevard, third floor. Thank you for allowing this opportunity to offer budget comments on this anniversary day of remembrance of John F. Kennedy, who kept us out of the ever-widening war into China. He did eventually enter the war and went on a spending spree that caught up to us in the form of runaway inflation beginning in the mid-1990s. I have some questions, comments, and requests, and we'll strive to get them within 3 minutes. According to an ancient saying, should we be muzzling the ox that treadeth out the corn? And again, is not the worker worthy of his hire? Do we expect people in Verona to work for free? Budget comment 1, what is the possibility that we can pay our elected officials here in Verona? In an ultra efficient manner, we can pay our council members the average hourly rate of all Veronians up to a certain ceiling of hours, just like any other worker. Members can submit their hours each week and be paid for just those hours. No fluffed up salaries where everyone gets the same regardless of time they put in. Budget comment 2, do we have a fully funded disaster plan? If it is true that a municipality's highest electricity usage is for running water and sewer pumps, what happens in a perfect storm of weather events and earthquakes that disrupt natural gas mains and fuel deliveries? What about solar power with battery backup, which also could have supplied Crimsfield facilities with power during their recent outage? What if this hall gets flooded out? Do we have a well-stocked alternate center up further on the hill? What if an ion storm knocks out our satellites and disrupts our cell phone service? Do we have a fiber optic system, which is super efficient and low maintenance costs in place of our communications to carry us through such events? Budget comment 3, we are carrying debt costing us over $10,000 per year of service. Why? Let us pay off that tax, say within 3 years, and use those savings that we are squandering away to bankers so that we can offset pay to our elected officials and towards an renewable energy backup plan. I hear 2 of me. Budget comment 4. It is not enough to be debt-free with no buffer to prevent us from tipping over again. If it is true that pure government is a forced collective right of individual self-defense, then what defense can an indebted government do whose first loyalties to its lenders provide? In the public, it is called savings. With government, we can use the word solvency. Biblical precedent shows having resources for up to a 2-year period is prudent. Government's ability to secure a viable, solvent collective defense hinges upon a solvency account stocked up with up to 2 years of budgetary expenses. Budget request 1. As a board member of Parks and Recreation, I would request $4,000 to offset the removal of state and federally listed calorie pear trees at the gateway entrance to the borough's building parking lot. They're listed as invasive species, highly invasive species. And I presented this to the council on August 9th. And replace them with native trees. Any leftover funds can be used to take down the unsightly non-native hybrid London plane trees that Rhoda Wharf mentioned last week, a couple weeks ago, which are losing the battle against the power lines on East Railroad Avenue. I think that would just be a small drop in the bucket because trees like that cost a couple $1,000, even if you take the root out. So, but it would be a start. We do have a shade tree commission that seems mostly concerned with grant getting and tree planting, but perhaps we can have a joint shade tree, parks and recreation and public works commission for unwanted tree removal. On the other hand, if Parks and Recreation is selected to oversee removals, what budget line item would the budget funding fall under? There is a line item 454.247 that Mr. Rump discovered that reads recreational program supplies. But she and I were both wondering why no specific committee was named, and also what recreational stood. Beach parties or smoking lounges, perhaps? Sorry, it's a bad joke. If it means parks and recreation program supplies only, then that would not even fund a trash can at Cribs Park, because that would technically be called an impertinence, not a supply. Replacing a faulty radio antenna, forget it. That is a repair, not a supply, such as popcorn, hot dogs, beach balls, or cigars. Sorry again, bad humor. Budget request 2. Could we change the line item of 454.247 to read Act 69 Parks and Recreation Board budget? If indeed that is the correct line item address, or simply add another line item whose designation had a less vague and more descriptive. And thank you for all this. I think I dropped a written copy of this in your mailbox, so you have it for use. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
There are no virtual hands raised.
Okay. We will go to discussion item A, the 2023 budget. That would be Stephanie.
That would be me. Good evening, everybody. What was posted on the website and what we're going to discuss today is what was 3 weeks of work that should have been about 4 months of work. But, you know, sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. This is a draft. This is not the end all be all. The hope is that we will have a budget to pass on December 13th. Vince, if you want to go ahead, there's a proposed timeline that we are currently working on. And as you can see, what we're hoping is to advertise and begin the 10-day public display of the budget, and we will go from there. And the hope is, again, to adopt it in 2023. Next, as you already know, and I think Christine has told you this numerous times, you cannot use ARPA money for general funds. But with only being here for 3 weeks, we have decided to focus on the general fund, the sewer fund, and the liquid fuel funds. We will look at the ARPA budget in the spring, and public will be invited to help review this budget. If you want to go up, there's a wish list. Oh, down, sorry, Vince.
Okay.
There was a wish list that you guys all asked for, and this is some answers to those questions. A full-time code enforcement officer. We have placed $30,000 in the administrative budget 401-111 to hire a full-time enforcement officer. And we've also added $30,000 to 413-3110. Equaling $60,000. This gives us the ability to hire a full-time officer, but also gives us the time to review, check, and get to the point where we feel we're capable of hiring that full-time officer. Hence the fact that the money is currently split into 2. So maybe we can't hire somebody in January, but maybe we can look at June or July. We just, we don't want to make any crazy decisions and fire BIU on January 1st. Body cameras for officers. We have already received a grant for the purchase of those. The purchase of cameras, technology, and training are all written within this grant. And this is a 5-year grant that our chief was able to secure. The hiring of officers. Current staffing shows that we have the chief, 2 sergeants, 1 part-time officer, and 1 officer who kind of fills in once or twice a month. The budget looks at keeping the chief, the 2 sergeants, and looks at it in 2 different ways. We can either have 3 part-time officers, or we can have 1 full-time and 1 part-time officer. We know it doesn't fill us to capacity, but at least gets us 1 step closer to where we need to be. On the next page is the estimated expenditures, and the estimated expenditures. I cannot read that from here, but you can see, where all of our costs come. I did hear a concern, that we did not look at an expected year to date. We hadn't gotten there yet. I was able to finally finish that today, but I can tell you that we are looking at numbers from October 31st. So we were not making budget numbers based on July numbers. We are looking at budget numbers based on where we are right now in October. Knowing that unless some major expense is coming out that nobody has bothered to tell me about, we are very, very close to where we're going to be at year end. Estimated revenue. As you can see, we looked at everything and I based that, I took again 10/31 and then I took year to date. The hope is that I will be able to release year to date after the finance committee reviews them. Hopefully by the end of next week. So there are some numbers we will look at. Just so you are aware, I transposed some numbers after 3 weeks of looking at this budget 1,300 times. I transposed 401-192 FICA Medicare and 401-194 unemployment. It should be 401-192 out of the general fund should be 9960 and 401-194 unemployment should be 6235. It was literally my eyes started to cross after a while. If you look at the financial position of the borough, currently as of 10/31/2022, we have a fund balance of $556,144. At the end of this year, I am looking at an estimated fund balance of $4,000. An estimated revenue of 1.6 million. And a proposed expenditure, which does not make me happy because I used to run nonprofits, of 1.7, which will leave us with a lower fund balance of 348,583. Our sewer fund will have an estimated balance of $760,000 at the end of December. An estimated revenue of 996 with proposed expenditures of 976,745. $200,000 of that money will be going to redoing the sewer lines. That is a wish and a hope and a prayer of everybody in the borough, which would leave us with an estimated fund balance of 779,786. The liquid fuels fund has an estimated balance of 101. Revenue of 70,000, proposed expenditures of 97 with an estimated fund balance of 73,938. If you go down, you can see at the back, I attached a copy of your capital improvements and projects. Anything in yellow was a wish list. The DPW truck, we still have not gotten an answer on. So the 4 you see in front of you are the 4 capital improvements that are included in the budget. We are required by law to have a cash match for each of these, which you can see under the local match. The grant amount will, besides the $75,000 for the borough park improvements, will not see going through the borough. So those monies are not found in the budget. If you go down, the capital improvement project that is found in the budget, the biggest one is 350013 state grant, $75,000 with a local match of 13,005 for a total of 88,500. This money is for park improvements. The final scope of work has yet to be determined, as from what I can see from the notes. I have to do, but what it includes is safety improvements at the park, renovation to courts and paths, old equipment removed and replaced, and fall surfaces refreshed. This month, that $75,000 can also be moved down to park improvements as soon as I'm sure, park capital improvements, as soon as I'm sure that the entire amount is capital improvements. Last but not least, this was touched on before. We do need to have a minimum fund balance policy. I'm not gonna make a joke. I understand that concept. We're having a budget in the current year expenditures match current year revenues, which if you live in nonprofit world is what you want. But there's no room for emergencies or unexpected declines in revenue. From what I researched from history, a minimum of 5% of operating expenses is a place to start. Although I think that having at least 3 to 4 months to start would be a little bit better. But these are all things that the borough needs to work on. Again, but understand we did basically, excuse me, 4 months of work in about 3 weeks. So we're getting there, and this is a promise to you that we will continue to work.
Thank you.
So is that it?
That's it. That's all I got.
Okay. Stephanie, thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
I understand you've only been here a few weeks and being put in the position that you were put in, you knew it coming into it. I think what we got is a great start.
Thank you.
And I'm sure there's gonna be comments, suggestions, concerns, once and not once. And we're just gonna, all I can vow to say is, we're gonna do the best we can to have a balanced budget by the end of probably December, what, 13th meeting. With that being said, I guess at this time, we'll open up the comment from the public on public related items. Please approach the podium and go from there. State your name and we'll move on.
There are no virtual hands raised. Oh, wait, Dave Mountain.
I don't know. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Vince.
Dave Matlin has his hand up.
Okay,
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, thanks. Is this, I mean, is there going to be any further discussion from council, or is this basically it for the meeting?
well,
I would like to go through it line item by line item.
Okay.
Anyone else?
that's fine,
That's fine.
that's fine.
I'll have Madam do that first, and we'll have to speak, is that all right?
Is that okay with you, Dave?
The same one.
Yeah, I'm just, I was just confused, trying to understand if I should make further comment now or wait for council to discuss further.
Trish we want to go through a line item by line item. And, I mean, if you want to come up with if you have stuff now, or if you want to wait till we go through it. Whatever whatever you want.
I mean, I'll just make a quick comment now that, I think I would just like to see some clarity, and I understand, this was a draft that was posted, and I know council is going to go through this. There's going to be some revisions. And I may have missed it. I just wanted to see if through the discussion, it could be clarified where in the budget, as far as, both revenues and expenditures as applicable, where the capital projects are in there. I mean, I saw the capital projects list. And I think I see where the parks improvements is coming from in the budget. I don't see the other items. I don't see the body cameras in there.
The body cameras are not included because They're a direct budget for from the Allegheny County Sheriff's Department. The
So
money will,
there's
money
no
will
money
not,
flowing.
there's no money flowing through the borough.
Okay, that helps. I appreciate that.
I could tell you any money flowing through the borough for any other capital improvement can be found at 485,000 capital expenditures. You will see 105,652, which covers, excuse me, as I pull this up real quick. The local match for the Extend Stormer Sewer between Center Avenue from First Athletic, the paving of several deteriorated alleyways of 25,000, and the Wildwood culvert of 16,152. You will also see the 13,500 that we have to match for the parks. And then
Okay.
at sewers, and you will also see the $200,000 for the sewers.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. That's all I have for now.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Dan Showalter has his hand up.
Dan?
Hey
Go
guys,
ahead,
can you
Dan.
hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, how you doing tonight? Dan Showalter, 440 North Avenue. As I heard, you guys are going to go line item by line item, which is great. I did have one question because I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stay on. I got a crying baby right now. But I do have a question. 454-740. Major expenditures 75,000. Just
That's-
wondering what that is.
That is the park grant.
Okay.
Until we figure out that money has, if you look, it's already in the state grant money that's been given to us. And so it goes in and goes out. I am not 100% sure because I'm still trying to figure out how much of that's gonna be capital improvements. It's sitting in the parks right now. It may move to capital. But that is grant dollars.
That is the grant dollars, and what's the match on that then? Is that the 13,000?
That's the 13,500.
Gotcha. Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Dan.
No more hands.
Okay.
I have a general question. And
Yes.
I don't know if for you, Stephanie, or for finance, but the capital items that are included, is that influenced by the grants in which we've already received?
Yes,
And or, public comment, or,
it's by the grants we've already received. This is money we already know that is coming in.
Okay.
If you remember at our last meeting, we approved a bunch of other monies to say that we would local match. Those will all be grant dollars that we will see for the 2024 budget. What I did was I spoke with Matt. Matt gave me the exact things that needed to be done. The only additional item we did as a wish list item was the $200,000 for sewer repairs, because the closer we get that to finished, the better off we're gonna be.
That's in yellow.
That's in the yellow, but it's also in the budget. And it's the $200,000. If you go down, you can see it on the capital improvement sewer fund.
Yeah, when people have questions, if they could say a line number, people have been mostly doing that. But yeah.
Okay. Well, do we want to,
anyone else have general items before we forget?
I figured they would, all those would be answered through the line item by line item.
does Stephanie want to just go down line item by line item?
Okay, hold on, because mine is a little different than yours, because I spent the day doing some estimates.
Would
We
it
could,
be more helpful for one of us to read it?
yeah, it actually would, so I can go down and tell you. Yeah, that'd be perfect. Thank you.
All right, so we have revenues per section 301 that's your real estate taxes. 100 is the current year. So in the general fund budget is 2023 is 900,000. Prior year is 20,000. Delinquent is 45,000. We have a line for real estate taxes other, which is currently budgeted at $0. Assuming no questions, I'll keep going.
Hold on, what does that mean? Real estate tax prior year?
Why, real estate taxes other. 301-200 means people who didn't pay their taxes that were required to pay their taxes. So if you didn't pay your 2022 taxes in 2020, those are delinquents.
What's the difference between that?
Delinquent would be farther out than a year. And I can tell you that should the estimates be correct, prior year, we will end at 965, 754.
So that is, right, the next section, 301-000, real estate taxes. Stephanie just said 965,000. First line item is local tax enabling act taxes, $0.
Just so, this colored in piece is the summary of this. The next section is 310, local enablement. That's how it's gonna be.
But
Oh, it's a total from the section above.
Okay, perfect. Check. So the first item then truly in that section, 310-100 real estate transfer tax at 30,000. Earned income tax current at 250,000, earned income tax delinquent, $0. Local service tax current, $55,000. And local service tax delinquent, $0.
So we don't have anybody delinquent on those?
not currently, and even in past years, we have not. It's pulled out of your paycheck.
Yeah. Right. No, it's right. You have to pay choices. Oh, I don't think that.
The total for that section, 335,000.
I can tell you that this year's estimated is 339 to 47.
321,000 business licenses and permits. We have licensing fees at 500, regulated rental license at 15,000. Solicitation permit, $0. Business and amusement licenses, 13,000. Cable television franchise, 32,000. Clearwire fee, $0. Business licenses and permits, other $0 for a total of 60,500. Any questions on that section?
In case people are wondering, the reason that the amusement licenses went up so drastically is because I believe the mayor might be able to add on to this, is that in 2020 and 2021, because of COVID, I think they've been charged.
Right.
That's true.
331-000, fines and forfeits, next section. Court district magistrate fees, 1,000, fines, vehicle code violations, 250, fines, violations of ordinance, 250, fines, state police fines, 750, fines, non-vehicle police, 0, fines, county DUI fines, $0, parking tickets for the borough, $5,000. Fines and forfeits, miscellaneous, of 6,000.
Just real quick, Trish, so everybody knows, I am not sure what goes into this fine forfeits miscellaneous. My promise is that this next year, I will figure that out exactly and be able to put them into the exact line items. But until I can get there, we did it this way.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I know some of those things seem a bit of a black box, but too. so.
Yeah, it's like a big, right, and I'm working on it. I'll be working with Bookminders probably in January and February to figure that out.
That's great.
Awesome.
We trust that, and, if there's ways to, improve it.
I'm always about that.
Yes, that's well. Last item was fines and forfeits other, which was $0 for a total of $15,250. Any other questions or comments in that section? 341-000 interest earning. Interest on checking, $80.
Don't get excited.
Interest earning other $0 for a total of $8. 342-000 rent and royalties.
For the total of 10.
Because there's two, liquid fuels fund.
Liquid fuels fund, but if I had,
Thank you.
yes, if I had to make a budget decision, this year it was $838, might raise it past $2. Just gonna put it out there, but for right now, that's where it's at.
Make it 3.
Maybe, or maybe 100. I'm just pointing that out, as I looked through the budget, I was like, ooh, that's odd. Like I said, 3 weeks.
Yeah. So 342-000 rent and royalties. So we have $0, $0 for a total of $0. 350-000 intergovernmental revenue. Intergovernmental revenue, $0. Federation appropriation and grant, $0. State grant, $75,000. That's the.
That's the part.
016 is county grant, $0. 20 intergovernmental revenue other, $0 for a total of $75,000. 350-530 Fed shared revenues to government. $0.
That would be the American Rescue Plan dollars, which we will do in the spring.
355-000 shared, state shared revenue and Kent.
Yeah,
We have 10 public utility realty tax, 1,000, alcoholic beverages licenses, 2,000, supplemental state pension aid, 54,000, foreign fire insurance, 10,000, highway aid revenue. That's liquid fuels at 70,000, regional sales tax, 100,000. So that's a combined total of 237,000.
and that number is conservative. So you know.
Thank you. You know, that's a lot of these.
But yeah, I'm very, I will say, as I budget conservative revenue and high expenses, so that's part of our issue.
No, that's a good choice. Rather do that way. Next section, 361-000 charges for services. 300, planning, subdivision, and land, $0. Fees for engineering review, $0. No lien letters, $1,500. Zoning fees, $3,000. Occupancy permits, $0. Other permits, $0. Sewer rental revenue, $0. Miscellaneous fees, $0. Charges for service other, $0 for a total of $4,000.
We are still reviewing how the rentals to Penn Hills will go with the new regionalization of Alphasan, and I have not received an answer.
I just want to ask or point out, fees for engineering review, do we think that that's for our zoning officer reviewing things, or is that, or do we have that all in engineering because it's Matt?
That does certain permits and
the zoning officer right now. Yeah.
Matt is Yeah, so he does all of that right now.
Right, so did we put the money for that under engineering, do you think?
Yes,
Because we definitely pay, right, for, well, this says for engineering.
This is revenue.
this is revenue. This is when somebody comes and says they need something reviewed for zoning.
Okay. And we get money for that from the fees.
Right,
And I'm not, I mean, it might say engineering review because our engineer is our zoning officer. But just FYI, I think we made some money.
well, that's why there's $3,000.
No, I'm looking at 361,320.
Correct.
And that's fine, if it's under zoning fees.
Yeah,
Then I just wanted to know.
Yeah,
where
it's under, I think it's
located.
all under zoning fees.
Okay, then this line.
There's quite a few lines in here that probably don't need to be here as we go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things got moved.
And something might have made sense to lay it out with the 15, but now we're.
And we will look at this really, really hard after the budget is approved with bookminders to make sure that everything is coded to the exact. Because we have discovered that some stuff is not coded right, so we have to work with that. So we'll be working on that in the next first quarter.
Next section, 362, public safety. 100, special police services reimbursement, $0, police support, $0, pool crossing guards reimbursement, 16,800. DUI task force, $0, protective inspections in UCC, $0. Street opening permits, $5,000. Miscellaneous fees, $0. Public safety other, $0, for a total of 21,800.
So what we really want is water main breaks so that, you know, the water company has to open and close roads all the time.
No,
I'm just kidding. See, I'm working it out.
Any other comments or questions on that section? Next section is 363,000, highways and streets. 510, contracted snow removal, 3,500, contracted street sweeping, $0. Highways and streets other, $0, for a total of 3,500. Sanitation. solid-
Excuse me one second. Is that the 3,500? Is that from the state
Yes,
for taking care of ARB?
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next section, sanitation, solid waste collection and disposal, $0. Sale of recycling bin, $0. Sanitation other, $0, for a total of $0.
And that is one of the sections we will probably get rid of since there has not been a budget line on that in the last couple of years.
I'm not even sure which recycling bin we would sell.
I don't know, but could we do that?
Okay.
I don't know.
That might be. We were getting paid for tonnage of those recycle bins. I wonder if that's what that is.
Maybe.
The ones over here
Mhm.
by the borough, we were supposed to get a percentage per tonnage.
No, that's.
That might be why that line item's in there, but I do remember hearing over the last couple of years that they weren't really paying that, so.
You're right. Stephanie's working on glass,
Glass, I'm working on glass.
Okay,
but I'm not sure. What we collected.
so. I have no idea if this is where this would be, but we have the recycling 904 grant that we got money for our tonnage.
So I just said-
Yeah, but I haven't seen any money come in for it.
that's what I just was talking about.
I don't know. I will have to check on that because if you look at this line item, there's no money in there.
I see that,
And there wasn't money budgeted,
I see that.
so I will have to check. You called it what?
It's a 904 grant and County Hall and whoever our garbage people are supposed to weigh all the recycling that they.
I remember Jerry saying that we were supposed to be getting money for that and we weren't. And then I remember Christine saying that this has been,
That was big on bringing that up.
yeah, this has been going on for 5, 6
I
years.
will see what I can find out, because I've never seen any money from a 904 grant.
Yeah, there's some paperwork that has to be filled out. I remember there's emails that come.
Yeah, I've never seen anything. I will see what I can figure out.
Yeah.
It's in my notes.
And that was usually worth about at least a couple $1,000.
Okay,
There.
I will see what I can do. I mean, if it's county hauling, I can't make any guarantees.
Any other?
Nope.
369000 is sewer fees. There were sewer fees, sewer fund total $996,302.
They come out this morning, or actually from the water.
Mhm.
All right. 380 miscellaneous revenue. Parking lot revenue, 4,500. Farmers market, $0. Insurance proceeds, $500. Judgments and damages, $0. Miscellaneous revenue other, $4,250. Sidewalk revenue, $0. Drug seizure money, $0. Newsletter revenue, $0. Bike derby, $2,650. Miscellaneous revenue other for a total of $11,900.
In case anybody's wondering, it's just a placeholder for,
Money that's already,
yeah, for the bike derby later on in the expenditure.
I was actually gonna ask about miscellaneous revenue other.
I will find that again.
Okay.
That's one of those things where that's where it was budgeted and I don't know for right now. So until bookminders and I can sit down and figure out exactly what the coding mishaps are, it's gonna take that, those others are gonna take some time because there's a lot of them that kind of bother me.
All right, let's turn up to 387,000 contributions and donations. 100 donations, $0. Donations recreation, $2,500. Contributions and donations other, $0 for a total of $2,500.
Oh, I'm on the next one, I'm sorry. I just went down.
391,000 proceeds, fixed asset depots, dispositions and sales of fixed assets, $0, loss of fixed assets, $0, and proceeds, fixed assets, other $0.
Currently, we have nothing for sale that I know of, and I'm not gonna try to guess what something would cost if we did have it for sale. Your battery's running low.
Should be plugged in.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Crisis averted.
Go bench.
Next, 000, interfund operating transfers.
Just say zero.
They're all here.
I'm okay with it. So. We have total general revenue, 1,661,958. But a combined total of 2,728,200.
Any questions on revenue first?
Why don't we take questions?
Okay.
Just so I know.
Does anybody have questions on the first section that we just went over of the budget?
Revenue.
On the revenue.
No virtual hands raised, nobody approaching the podium.
Oh, is that the public?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we're asking.
Questions on revenue?
Line item, again, Mike Rabacki, 716. Allegheny River Boulevard, line item 380-800, newsletter revenue. Just questioning, why that's even in here, because it doesn't seem to be organic to what government should be doing, is running a newsletter. So, yeah, it can be
The newsletter.
380-800. It's in the business of running a business. and
Oh,
Up on
advertising.
top, Nance.
It's kind of dangerous thing to do if you've ever had its own publicity outlet in a public forum. So I would like to see that just stricken off this, as well as any expenditures. flowing. And the next one is bike derby. I'm not sure what that is. Sounds like something. I don't know if the government is running this bike derby.
The police run.
The
them.
police run it
Police
and
run it.
they raise their own money.
We get
So what the money they
donations.
bring in, we have it in an account, and when they have the bike derby next year, that money is used for the bike derby next year.
They had raised that money, Mike, but they didn't have one this year.
They haven't had one since 2020 because of COVID. Yeah, but before that, I think the bike derby's been going on for 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, if it's strictly something that they're doing, I mean, I might be better to just put on their donations, because whatever they get from it, it's up to them how much they would like to donate. Up here, it sounds like it's something that the government's expecting to happen, as opposed to just under donation such as.
It's better to line item a budget item, just so we know expense and income and expense. So they know how much they have to spend, since the police are essentially a government entity.
Well, again, maybe it could be a breakout under donation. One of the donation items would be bike derby.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody else?
Sylvia, I don't know if you wanted to say anything about why the newsletter ended up, the way Mike was explaining about, like historically.
With the mayor knows too. Mayor, didn't you start the newsletter?
Yes, back in the mid-90s, it started it. And it's been running ever since, but since then it has grown considerably with pages of stories and what have you. And, you know, news events.
Yeah, I think Mike Rybacki is questioning the legality of it.
Mike,
As far as
that,
what?
What was your question? You feel it's illegal for a government to run a business? Or to-
Yeah, a publication as opposed to just listing like happenings in government. Yeah, that's one thing to publish what actually goes on.
I don't know if he can hear you because you have to speak into the microphone.
Because the newsletter has advertisers and things like that, so we're actually running a business.
The advertisement helps pay for the newsletter. There's other communities that do have the newsletter also. Penn Hills has looked at our newsletter, but they got like 80,000 homes. And they're trying to work out the feasibility of getting all those advertisements to help offset their newsletter. But as far as legality, I mean, we've been doing it since 95, I believe it was, or 97. And nobody has said nothing about that. It's not used by taxpayer money.
Are you saying, Dave, that Penn Hills has a newsletter that is supported by their budget, their government?
Not as yet, not as of yet. They're looking into it, but like I said, they got over 80,000 homes in Penn Hills. And I mean, look at what ours is costing for what we have, you know, the 1,000 homes that it goes to.
Mike, I'd like to make a comment or maybe an explanation. I have handled sales and marketing for the newsletter a number of years. I have never touched taxpayer money. I made sure that we had enough to cover the printing, the postage, the proofreading, everything that went into that newsletter. We now have had a decrease this quarter and one of the other quarters, which caused us to need a little bit of money. We have done fundraisers and we will continue to do them. But that newsletter is our news to the people. We have no other news going out to people. That is it. And I think people need to be informed what's going on in the community. So that's why we have it. But we have never drained on the taxpayer. I have made sure that we had enough money. This is why we have asked for, normally we were given $6,000. I'll back up on that. I never touched that money. And we were under the assumption that if we didn't touch the money, it would continue to build. It did not. If we didn't use it, we lost it. So we have done the very best that we can with it. But, and prices have gone up now too. Printing and paper and salaries. So we're struggling with it, to tell you the truth, especially this quarter. Plus we had COVID, a lot of the stores were closed. So it's been a tough road. It really has.
No other comments or questions? We can move to expenditures. 401, and the treatment. So these are split between the general and the sewer fund, so I will just read that by total. Budgeted for next year. Borough manager salary, 80,000. Salary for code enforcement, 30,000. Salary for borough secretary, $0.
Let me fix these for you. FICA Medicare, 10,381. And the next one, 6235,
Oh, 10,000, what was that? So
381.
381.
Those where I superimposed the numbers.
But the FICA grew a little bit.
Well, again, it was superimposed. It didn't really grow. It just flipped.
No, but the previous number was 9960.
Right, because the numbers flipped and there was $421 sitting in the sewer fund.
Oh, gotcha. I see. So it flipped to the general fund.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
So the fight is now 10,381.
Correct.
What other number did you say, Steph?
The next one, 6235, which I think is high. But the finance committee can review that and look at some numbers of discount,
This unemployment comp,
unemployment.
yeah, and that dropped, that lowered, so
So
that may slipped it.
the 421, though, is based on paying whoever who's working on stuff for the sewers, right? So if we're flipping them, wouldn't we subtract the 421 from the 6235?
No, it goes no, because I flipped the numbers in the general fund.
Sewer fund.
No, what I'm saying,
I flipped the numbers in the general fund.
It's 9960, 421.
It's 10,3
Right.
10,381.
right, so the one that is 6235,
is the unemployment.
which is actually the unemployment is 5814, you're adding 421.
No. No, I did not add it. I just changed those two.
It's only $420.
Oh, it is getting, you're right, Nancy.
Thank you.
It's 5814. Sorry about that. But it's actually getting changed again, so it doesn't matter.
The total is the same.
Yeah.
It's just that the 421 goes with the.
Yes.
Yes.
FICA.
Say that, Mike.
Yes,
It's still out of the short fund.
Yes,
right.
And some of these numbers, looking at budget, again, you know, these were not, some of these numbers I look, now looking at more year end and December, in October 31st, these are budget numbers we're gonna have to speak about, because some of them can be lowered. I think they're way too high.
I don't think I said the 401, 115, the one that we missed the session in, budgeted for 20,200.
That's actually our administrative assistant.
Let me ask you a question on payroll, just going back like to the sewer fund. Any of this work that Teresa does that get taken out of the sewer fund?
I can check into that.
You know, that's just another avenue for the sewer fund.
Yeah, I can check into that. We were quite careful
Right.
on how we looked at that, and I can look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Stephanie, do you want to mention what code enforcement now or later?
I did mention this before, we do see $30,000 here in the administrative budget for a code enforcement officer. You will go down below in a little bit and see another section that's code enforcement. Together, that equals $60,000, concept being that if we could hire a full-time code enforcement officer, we would have the money built into the budget. We would just do some flipping of lines. But I don't see if we can find a code enforcement officer that we'd be able to hire them before June or July at this point.
Very good, thank you.
Continuing on, same section, but for us, different page, 195, workers' comp insurance, 3,500. Next, several items are zero.
We wouldn't come to that workers' comp. Sewer fund?
We can work on that, but I also think workers' comp, some of these budget numbers are not mine.
Right.
And the more I look at them, they're way high, so we will be able to move some of those and move there. I was able today to cut approximately $12,000 out of the budget by looking at year to date, but since we haven't been able to discuss that, that budget has not been presented.
So the next line item with the dollar amount is office supplies at 3,000. Postage and delivery, 2,000. Postage machine lease, $0. Photocopier lease, 2,800. General supplies, 1,200. Consulting fees, $0. Telephone, 4,000. Cellular phone allowance, $0. Automobile allowance, $0. Advertising, 2,500. Printing, 2,500. Newsletter, 5,000. Property, general liability insurance, 4,500. Public officials liability insurance, 9,000. Surety bond, $0. Electricity, 3,500. Natural gas, 12,000.
I lowered that number.
Water sewage, 1,000. Penalties and interest, 300. Due subscription and member, 3,500. Meetings and conferences, 13,000. Minor expenditures, 6,500. Administration other, $0. For a combined total of $231,195. Questions and comments? I'm sure we'll continue to work on minor expenditures. 13,000 for meetings and conferences is the annual Avon conference.
Plus another 3 for other.
For things like, local government accounts.
Yeah, local government academy, which,
There was also stuff for staff, or set up for Christine to go to different meetings, borough meetings and conferences. Steph will be used.
oh yeah, I remember the last council put that in.
Any other questions and comments?
What did we have penalties on? What were we late on?
To be honest with you, I cannot answer that question for you. I can check into it. What number is that?
401380. I just wondered.
Penalties and interest. I can check into that. It's been 441 since the beginning of the budget. So I don't know if that was something at the beginning of the year, but I will check into that.
Thank you.
I thought natural gas was increased, but you said it was less.
We increased it in the budget, it increased to $12,000. Yeah, it's way high. We were budgeting at year end. Currently, as of at the end of October, we're at 6552. Year end, we're budgeting at about 7,900. Budget wise, I would take that 12,000 to 9,500 and still be higher than what we currently are, but way more comfortable than, I mean, less I'm going to, you know.
Clarifying, other questions or comments? If not, we'll charge ahead to 402,000 finance. 310 payroll services. I'll read the combined total. 3,700, split against general sewer. Auditing services, 8,000. Accounts services, 25,000. Appraisal services, $0. Bank charges, $300. Final other, $0 for a combined total of $37,000. Questions or comments? 403,000 tax collection. Real estate tax, current 4,100, real estate tax, total, and 1,000 commissions, earned income tax, 1,000 commissions, local services tax, $0, refunds, 0, and all of the remaining items actually 0. Total is 20,100. Questions or comments? Next section, 404-000, legal.
I do have a question. Sorry. This is what we're paying out.
Yes, the Keystone.
So we're paying Keystone $4,100 for the real estate taxes
Mhm,
to collect them.
mhm,
And we're paying 10,000 approximately for delinquent.
mhm.
Well, wait, Weiss Burkhardt does some of our collecting of delinquent. Not that we need to break that down. The
But then I
legal-
just try, I guess my question is, this is for delinquent taxes for us to collect.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can tell you that as October 31st, you're at 85.94 for delinquent.
I mean, how much we collected?
No, how much we've spent.
What do we spend for delinquent taxes? Just for them to keep resending it and,
And to get them.
okay,
But if you look back on revenues, you'll see that we get quite a bit.
I understand, yeah.
I think that we have two, we have Keystone, we have Weiss Burkhardt, like collector one. One does property taxes and one does other kind of taxes.
LIS.
So, anyway,
Very good, thank you.
it's something, we have to spend something in order to get a whole lot more.
I see the difference now between the revenues and
Right.
expenditure.
44000 legal. First line item is the solicitor retainer, 22,300. These are also split between general sewer, so I'm going to combine the total. Solicitor hourly budgeted at 28,500. Solicitor for the zoning hearing, 1,500. Special legal services, 300. Court reporting, 600. Codification, 2,500. Tax lien filing fees, 2,000. Legal advertising, 3,000. Legal other, $0 for fine total of $60,700. Questions or comments?
My only comment is, I think we could probably go down on solicitor hourly,
I was,
because I think that in 2021 is when we have all the issues, so.
We were using them a lot.
More
I just played conservative and fearful. You know, the one thing I don't want to skip on is the guy who can defend me.
That was.
than 15 this year.
Well, by end of the year, we think we're gonna be at about 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can, but that's just a
And
number to look
that's
at.
probably what he was doing with all the extra stuff when, after Christine left before you came.
Yeah, and I have to look at what contracts will cost and stuff.
Right, right.
Anything else?
No attorney comes cheap.
407-000 technology and data process. Administration hardware, 1,500, administration software, 3,500. Police hardware, $0, police software, $2,000, website design and maintenance, 500. Technology/data processing other, 3,000, for combined total of 10,500. The website design and maintenance, probably an annual fee.
Yes. And the 3,000 is high because as we begin to look at turning our website to take payments and stuff like that, that's gonna take a little bit more of an expense.
That would be-
Yes,
What hardware are we able to get?
probably
Didn't we get a laptop?
have a laptop. We
No,
had a
I-
laptop last year.
I think we bought a laptop this year, didn't we?
Christine bought one, but I think she bought it through the Walkworks grant, but I can't be 100% honest with you, but there's $3,451 in that, so maybe you did.
I know we bought a camera, but it was only like $100.
I haven't had a lot of time to go back and look. It might be the computer that I'm sitting on right now. And the police software is their reporting software.
Clarifying. Next section, 408-000, engineering. Engineering services general, combined total of $65,000. Engineering services traffic, $0. Mapping, $0.
That number also may be high on the conservative basis. Year end, we're looking at 52,737.
Yeah, next two items are 0, so that combined total for engineering services is $65,000. Next section, 408-000, engineering. 409-000, general government building. 373, repairs and maintenance, 2,500. That's easy. Contracted services, janitor, 7,500. Contracted services, $0. Actually, that's several $0, for a total of 10,000.
I can tell you that as of right now, we're at 1708 for building maintenance. I'm sorry.
That's true.
Yeah, so yeah, anything.
Right. Other questions or comments?
No?
You want to wait till she comes back a minute, in case anybody has any questions?
I think we're
Okay.
for reading, but.
Yeah, sure.
If there's questions.
Yeah. 410-000 police. Salary police chief, 70,246. Salary sergeant, 115,000. Salary officers at full time, of course, $0. Wages officers part-time, $105,000. Wages of the ticket officer part-time, $0. Wages for the school secretary, $35,020. Wages for crossing guard, $30,000. Wages for an ordinance officer, $0. Educational pay, $0. Holiday pay, $16,000. Overtime pay, $20,000. Overtime pay for events, $0. Vacation paid buyback, $0. Formal training, $3,000. Uniform maintenance allowance, $3,000. FICA, Medicare, $29,500. Unemployment compensation insurance, $8,500. Workers' comp insurance, $15,000. Healthcare insurance, $56,000. $4,000. Life insurance, $0. Disability insurance, $0. Office supplies, $500. Postage, $0. Photocopier lease, $2,000. Vehicle fuel, $15,000. Ammunition and range supplies, $2,000. General supplies, $2,000. Police protection supplies, $3,000. Ticket reader and supplies, $0. Auxiliary police, $0. Civil service commission, $0. Cellular phone service, $8,000. Radio equipment maintenance, $2,000. Advertising and printing, $0. Property general liability insurance, $14,000. Police professional liability, $10,000. Electricity, $0. Natural gas, $0. HQ facility maintenance, $0. Vehicle maintenance, $20,000. Due subscriptions and memberships, $0. Using conferences, $2,500.
Yeah, animal control.
Using animal control, $2,500. Meeting conferences is $0. Major expenditures, $0. Police vehicle leases, $0. Minor expenditures, $1,000. Security cameras, $3,000. Police other, $2,650. For a total of $647,960.
So there's the bike derby. Is that the two,
Yes.
650?
Yeah, that's the bike derby.
So those that go down to watch. I'm assuming that the, liability insurance and professional liability is up that high because we're anticipating hiring more police.
Yes.
And so we're, we have to
Yes.
account for that. Account for that.
They just basically got a brand new headquarters and a lot of that is paid for just because they're sitting in the building with us.
I did have another question. I don't know, Stephanie. So our photocopiers and printer, et cetera, are exactly the same in the admin office and the police. So I'm just wondering why.
Because one's had one longer than the other. And they were just, they're just different amounts. They're not the exact same.
I thought they were.
No, they're not, because I checked out the one with the police. They're different.
Oh.
Printer models change yearly.
Noticed that also.
Yes, I already noticed that. They models change yearly, prices change yearly. They just got a new one.
Some of the leases based on usage too.
Yeah, they just got it. Yeah, and their usage is higher than ours. Yes, because they,
Yeah, so they'll have to pay for more toner and more.
and they
Stuff
use,
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, but
They
I-
use-
the admin price is higher than the police.
or maybe it's the exact opposite. I mean, I can check. It makes, I mean, we print a lot more, but they do a lot more with theirs. One of the things we will begin doing with ours is we have a 1900 fax machine sitting in our office. We will be hooking up our copy machine as a fax machine to make that more efficient. Because as much as we hate to admit it, faxes are still,
Just here last week when the county sheriff.
yeah, needed 40 pages and having an old fax machine,
Yes.
it was horrible.
It probably went there all day.
Basically.
Yeah.
So we will be, but that won't cost us any more money.
Okay, great.
I would guess, you're right, it would be the exact opposite, because as much as we print.
Yes.
We cut down a lot of trees.
I should know better.
Okay, thank you.
Nancy's question regarding anticipated increase due to anticipated office hiring. Does it matter which scenario you base that off of, whether it's
I'm actually gonna be checking with, Mr. Ewing to see. Some of those will change as insurance quotes come in. We just don't have our quotes for this year, just like contract numbers might change, there's contracts coming. So these numbers are all estimates. But will definitely, I would guess, would change. Again, I budget to the conservative side, so I always budget high.
I was also curious about 410,374. Vehicle maintenance. Is there an anticipated increase there as well?
Cars always seem to be in the shop. So, is that the 20,000?
Yeah.
Okay, right now, as of October, we were at 10,813. One was just in October, so we might be able to lower that number a little bit, but just being conservative, I mean, if you think about it, the price of tires has increased and everything else, and those are speed rated tires, so they're gonna be expensive. Yes, Wade, I said that.
Who does the maintenance? Is it McDade on?
I would assume it's.
Yeah, I think they got a big.
McDade?
Okay, any question?
Not saying a word.
411-000 fire. The 195 workers' comp insurance, 8,600. Vehicle fuel, 3,000. Telephone expense, 1,000. Radio, $0. Volunteer firefighters, 21,000. Electricity, 5,500. Natural gas, 2,000. Hydrant services, 7,500. Water and sewage, 1,000.
That's 7,500 for hydrant services. Is that just to check them once a year?
Yes,
And it's that much?
no, that's for rental. That's for the rental of the fire hydrants and water.
Oh,
system.
we're renting those. We don't
Yeah.
own them.
The water authority owns it all.
Oh,
And
okay.
We
last,
pay to rent that.
and last year it
Okay.
was 69.35, so.
Thank you.
I just want to make a comment, that electric might be down, since all the lights have been changed over to LED up there.
Hey, I'd love that.
Yeah, right? Just a comment on that.
Thank you for that update.
Actually, that's better lighting, isn't it, Ray? Brighter
Oh,
and
yeah.
yet less expensive. Okay. Good.
Fire alarm system, $0. HQ facility repair and maintenance, $0. Vehicle maintenance repair, 1,000. Contributions to volunteer fire, 10,000. The remaining items were 0 for a total of 60,600.
Number down below, the Warren Fire State allocation, once we know what the allocation is, what comes in goes out. So it's
I was
a
gonna-
wash number.
I was gonna say that.
And my question to you is, so I understand, the $10,000, when does that go to you? To the firefighters? Because it doesn't show as it going out.
I think that's an insurance thing.
Okay,
I believe, we'll have to look back.
okay, if we could do that, because I'm trying to.
Well, if it would have come out of the borough paying, we,
Yeah.
they don't give us a check up there for anything.
Okay,
It would have been out of the borough checking.
okay, and then I will check on that, because
And
that.
if you have any questions, we can work together.
Perfect, because this is, the fire was a little new.
Yes.
Okay, brings us down to 413,000 UCC and code enforcement. Code enforcement property, 30,000.
That's the other half.
That's the other half of the money. Currently, we pay BIU, so I didn't want to lose that line item while we continue to pay BIU.
Excellent, thank you for clarifying. Building inspection services,
They take directly to it.
They now pay directly to BIU.
excellent, thank you for clarifying, their total is 30,000. Next section, planning and zoning. Solicitor for the zoning hearing board,
That is up on top with the solicitor, and the solicitor line items. I don't know why it's in there twice.
zoning cross fees, 2,500, court reporting, $0, $0, minor expenditures, 0, and planning and other, 0, so 2,500. 429,000 for the street fees. Sewer cleaning, $8,000. So this is under the sewer fund. Sewage treatment fees, $726,072 for a combined, or for a total of $734,072. Public works is the next section. 430,000, so wages full time are a combined total between federal and sewer of $126,669. Part-time, $0, overtime pay, $10,000. FICA and Medicare, $10,010. Unemployment compensation insurance, $2,000, workers' comp, $6,500, health insurance, $31,700. Non-uniform pension contribution, $0. Life insurance, $600. Disability insurance, $0. Vehicle fuel, $10,000. Clothing and uniforms, $2,100. General supplies, $15,000. Highway supplies, $1,000. Small tools, $500. Leaf recycling services, $0. Service to our needs, $0. Cellular phone service, $2,000. Property general liability insurance, $19,500. Electricity, $500. Natural gas, $0. Water and sewage, $500. Contracted dumpster service, $13,000. Repairs and maintenance, $1,000. Lawnmower, $0. Basic street maintenance, $7,500. Repairs and maintenance, garage, $3,000. Vehicle maintenance, $8,500. Vehicle repair, $0. Vehicle lease payment, $0. Major expenditures, $0. Minor expenditures, $2,500. Road salt, $32,482. Thank you, read that one. It's out of fuel. Street lighting also out of liquid fuel, $65,000. Sidewalk project, $0. Public works other, $500. So this is a combined total between all three funds of $372,061. Questions or comments? It's $0 for natural gas. 352 because that.
You get one bill.
Yeah.
I had to look at how the bills were separated.
So that.
We get 27 Duquesne bills, you
Right.
know, so it's just the way the natural gas bill, it runs for the entire. So it's just under us.
Cell phone, 430324.
That will be removed once we can make sure we have the radios set up.
Thank you.
How many That seems to be half.
I don't know. I was gonna ask AJ, currently we're at $9,661 in dumpsters.
I
I know
think
there's
it's the ones from down the.
there's a big yard
there's a
box
big-
down
big
there.
one down Arch Street.
Yeah, so I will
don't know if
talk,
that's what it's all for.
I will talk to him about that.
It's expensive.
Uh,
I was shocked.
I know garbage is.
Well, they gotta put a lot of garbage in it. Yeah, they gotta empty the trash in the parks and empty the trash all along the boulevard and all along East Railroad, the business district.
This is the other, not county hauling, this
No,
is.
no.
No,
this is-
DPW empties those.
All the trash bins and they have to have someplace to put it.
Yeah, that's what this is.
And it's just shocking how much it costs us for one trip for them to come and empty that dumpster.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of tons that can fit in that yard box
Yes,
down there.
so we're currently at 96,661, so
I think at the beginning of the year though, do I remember there was like, we had 2 of them or something at one time? Anybody remember that? When they were up here?
I
One
will-
Up here and one down below.
I will check, I will speak with AJ.
All right, thank you.
Other questions or comments? All right, 435,000 sidewalk, crosswalk. Full section, is that pretty weird?
Yes, we actually deleted it as of today,
Okay.
because there's never been a budget in.
454,000 park and like. Wages full time, 20,600.
So before you go through the rest of this whole list.
Yep.
Who's that?
Who's what?
20,600.
That's part of DPW. They mow all the lawns,
Oh,
they
that's
make,
right.
you make sure everything, all the garbage is
Yeah.
done, they fix
Right.
the
You
picnic
separate it out,
tables.
you divide it
You have to
down.
divide, so you
Sure.
divide they divide their hours out.
Yeah, that's right, thank you.
We have a bunch of zeros, so I'm just gonna get, five to the line item with the number, FICA Medicare, 1,576. Getting down to general supplies, 5,000, recreational program supplies, 2,630. Internet, 1,000. Electricity, 700. Water and sewage, 1,000. Repairs and meet the building, 9,000. Major expenditures, 75,000. Minor expenditures, 500, for a total of $117,006.
Can I ask a question, for the Parks and Recs Committee? What is the internet?
There is Wi-Fi at Cribs.
But that might be under the lease, the primary purpose is for the camera.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think. we're gonna do Wi-Fi.
Cause it cost us almost $3,100 this year.
That can't be that then because
Okay, I will.
the
check
internet
into
was
that.
just installed in
So you're saying.
Like what, July?
so the cameras in August of this year or
I will check that then.
Right after the.
Stephanie, you're saying that 2615 is as of the end of.
October, so
and we
you-
got more bills. in
If you
section.
work it out, if you work the budget out, it would be almost $3,100. So I'm going to check this.
So that actually could potentially be a higher number than 1,000.
Yeah, I need to figure out what this number is. It's not a big deal. I just need to figure it out.
Right.
Right.
Use fiber optic used. Instead of electrical.
internet.
Yeah.
That's
Because
for internet
this
and cameras and stuff.
650 is prorated for when you guys first got it.
That's what we have.
21,
We have
right?
fiber optic.
I'm pretty sure.
We just got it in 21.
I didn't think we had
So it's prorated
fiber
to
optic
the end
here,
of the year.
because I know a
I will
company
check,
that does.
I will check it
We do.
and get the prices.
We just don't, yeah, I have Verizon Fios at my house.
Yeah, I do too, but I didn't know we had fiber optic.
I will get that done. I'm
Who
not
pays our,
concerned. I just need to understand that we do have Wi-Fi there.
Very good, thank
might
you.
have Comcast here, so I'm not sure.
Do we have fiber optic here?
No,
No,
Would that be cheaper?
we can't get it,
we can't get it.
Some places have it.
not in Verona.
I have it.
I have it.
Fiber optics?
Yeah,
I
we don't.
have Verizon Fios internet at my house.
We don't have fiber optics in Verona.
Yeah, we do. We have it for internet, not cable. They ran it on my street like 3 years ago. They
They've
dug
run
up
some
everything.
and haven't run others.
We need to look into that then, because if there are some people getting Verizon, they have not had an agreement with Verona. They would not deal with Verona at the time. People had called and asked, why can't we get Verizon? And Verizon would say, well, Verona would not negotiate any deals, which was a lie. And for some of the members that were here when Craig had brought that up, I think it was Pitcairn, same thing. Verizon is saying that Pitcairn also wouldn't negotiate a franchise fee. So we need to look into that maybe with Craig.
That's it. Not for cable.
As of right now, the only thing that Oakmont and Verona has is Fios that runs for internet. It does not run for cable services. So
I was told years ago, talking directly to a Verizon person, that, they just consider us to be too small of a town. to
yes,
bother.
they're not gonna pay franchise fees for two very small
It-
towns.
it's-
Especially since most of the towns they have cable contracts with Comcast or other.
I think there's quite a few people who would change, but it still would be pretty small.
It's too many, the pie's getting cut up in too many pieces for them to.
Right.
If we
Okay.
could get it, do we have an interest for fiber optic?
Well, you only can get it where they're willing to lay it. And I know they're only going so far. So I know they've started. They're not gonna stop. They've laid it. They're working on Oakmont and Verona, but they're laying fiber out just for internet. It's not for television or anything else. So don't get all excited.
Okay.
I don't want people to come
Okay,
back
let's
at
get back
us.
to the budget numbers.
Well, the reason I'm asking is I have a company that does it. and a friend
Sylvia,
of mine
let's
works
let
there.
us get through this budget, please.
I'm done.
And we can always discuss that. We still got a lot of work. here. Thank you.
Two
Next section,
pages.
45700 civil/military celebration. Holiday supplies, 500, holiday programs, 800, civil military celebrations, other 300, for a total of 1,600. 458,000, senior citizen center, 7,000.
For the bus.
For the RCP. Next section, 459,000, community program. Community event donation, 1,000.
Do we know what that's for?
I think that was put in there for like when we had the 150, we donated a little bit of money to that. I think.
That would be my gut, like if you do a
Yeah.
community picnic or something like
Yeah.
that.
I would think.
You done it.
I thought we donated 3,000 to
That's
the
right.
150th.
I lowered it because
Okay.
you're not gonna have, you can only have your one. you can't-
No, I understand.
Or maybe you can. That would be-
Have what? Yeah.
I would love that.
471,000, debt principal, has a fire truck loan principal, $54,000.
Is that what we have left to pay on it?
No, that's this year's payment.
That's just yours.
Oh, this is this year's payment. Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure how many years left. There's 2 or 3 maybe.
It's close.
It's close.
Yeah, I think so.
Where do you get that from? 16, 17?
I'm not sure. They,
Was it when you?
It's newer.
I'd have to look. I don't know.
So we have that interest, fire truck loan is 4,500. For that section. Next section, 485,000, capital expenditure. Administration capital, 1,700. General government building capital, $0. Sewer, $0. Brings us to sewer capital. $200,000. Sewer fund. DPW capital, $105,002. Parks capital, $13,500. So that is a combined total of $320,800. Questions?
My comment is that 13.5 is the maximum on the part of $75,000.
Correct.
Yes.
And at some point, that 75,000 may go down to meet it, but until we figure out what exactly we're spending on all that work up there.
And the DPW capital,
That is the culvert. The alleys,
Wildwood and Peach and Walnut and what's this, Butter RCC, Sylvan.
and some other work
Yeah.
that doesn't have anything to do with sewers.
any other questions or comments?
No.
Okay. This brings us to 400 expenditures other.
Yeah, you could just skip to the end. Everything else is zero.
Yep, except for, just gonna mention that we do have a line item for transfer to the sewer fund, but we have not determined an amount for that yet. For going.
Part of that will come out of salaries and stuff like that.
No, isn't this line item transferred to the sewer fund for, like, to pay it back?
That's my-
Yeah.
Some of that is we use with expense now.
She has to determine how much is, she's to hear how much we paid already into them. I think is what Stephanie's trying to say.
Yeah.
But that's been noted as we've gone along, is it not?
To be honest with you, I'm still looking for records. I found paperwork on what Craig said is legal and illegal at this point.
Okay.
Total expenditures combined is $2,787,602. So we are in the red in the general as document $51,417. This is with a fund balance. Am I reading something?
Yes, we currently have a fund balance. I did go through and make sure we had a fund balance, did year-to-date numbers. That $400,000, starting at January 1st, 2023 is pretty dead on if I'll,
So January, we were at 400,000.
no, January of 2023, you'll be at 400,000.
You remember what we were January? of
50, you were negative $51,870.
That's so extraordinary.
You have to remember, your expenses were substantially lower than what was accounted for. You went 2 months without a borough manager? And there's some other things, some grant dollars that came in and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we could potentially determine that we want more or less than 400,000 for our.
We gotta decide what we want on the minimum fund balance, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and this number may change a little bit as we go through the budget and look at some of these numbers. Like I said, I was able to, by just looking at some of the numbers that seemed way out of whack, decrease the current hold to $31,942, which is a $19,475 decrease. And that's just by taking a quick look at where we are with year end. Still being extraordinarily conservative, and I was still able to cut. But these are numbers the finance committee will have to look at, and then we can present back to you at the workshop meeting. Is that correct?
I was gonna say, should finance do that,
Yeah,
all of them?
yeah, I'm gonna be away.
Yeah.
Yeah, then, so, yeah.
Mhm. And this is pretty important.
Okay, let's keep on track. I understand. So when can the finance committee meet?
So can we explain that some other time?
I would like to have something planned soon before we go away for Thanksgiving, so I have an idea. We all need to remember that to make this somewhat work to advertise a budget, it has to be out on December 1st.
So
We
Stephanie,
only-
from what I'm gathering from what you're saying,
We
we
don't
almost
have,
need to meet tomorrow.
we don't have much time. We can either, I mean, I can do Tuesday, Tuesday morning.
I also think we as a whole, have some decisions to make about the minimum fund balance, as well as the sewer repayment. Off the top of your head, does anyone recall what is the amount we have for sewer?
About 500,000, somehow.
I thought it was lower than that. I thought we lowered it.
Well, I think initially it was 600 some odd, and we lowered it over the year and a half or whatever.
Is-
Year.
There's some place that this should be kept,
So what should we have?
where I can find this.
Oh,
Um,
great question. We will double check for that.
Could you please, double check, because when I,
So I guess the question is, the biggest question, when can a finance committee meet? That's to help Stephanie out here.
Stephanie, when do you want to meet?
I mean, Tuesday's fine.
You want to do it tomorrow?
Tomorrow would be pushing it.
Well, you don't mind coming in Thanksgiving morning for a couple hours, do you? Geez, take your glasses off.
I actually don't, but that's beside the point. That's because I'm here all
I
Thanksgiving.
know, no, I was kidding.
Him and I can meet Monday or Tuesday.
I can do Tuesday morning.
You're available Tuesday morning.
I think so, I can bring my calendar.
Can you check with that and get back to Fred, Tim, and
Sure.
Stephanie, please? That would be awesome. So that'll give Stephanie time to work on it and
Yeah, and here's the,
We have to.
we have to look at, you have to look at your fund balance. My suggestion, you start out, the suggestion I saw from Christine was at 5%. I would probably go to 10. But I will look at that and check that out. I mean,
I think we can do at least 5.
yeah.
Fast.
And like I said,
You just want to meet with committee.
Yeah. I'd like to be able to present an adjusted budget for the December meeting, for the workshop meeting.
Just checking.
So. do you have comments from the public?
Yeah, any,
Dave Matlin has his hand raised.
okay, Dave?
Yeah, Dave Matlin, 722 Bruno Street. I think the fund balance numbers need to be reevaluated. The January 1st, 2022 fund balance was actually negative $6,220, not the $51,870. And this is according to the DCD audit for 2021.
Dave, how much did you say?
And where were those numbers from? Because those are not the numbers I'm getting from bookkeepers.
This was from the DCD. I mean, I don't know what numbers Bookminders has, but this is from the DCD audit that was done in the summer or issued in the summer. I mean, double check me by all means, but and I'm, you know, I'll gladly stand corrected if you have something different. But I'm looking at the audit. It's showing a negative 6,220, which is also what Christine had in her budget document for the fund balance at the beginning of the year. So, you know, you don't need to, you know, get back to me tonight or anything. I'm just saying, I just wanted to point that out. I think, but at the end of the day, I think what's been done in the past for several years is we need to see an expected year-end 2022 column line by line in order to see the total fund balance estimate and you know see that it makes sense. I think just looking at the numbers from this year and where things are headed, I personally think the 400,000 fund balance for basically, you know, December 31st, 2022 or January 1st, 2023 is a little bit overly optimistic. But, you know, again, this is typically developed by a line by line estimate of the final year end values. And I know, you know, Stephanie's coming in here late in the game. I understand that. But I know that typically the expenditures in the last couple months of the year usually significantly exceed the revenues, just due to the natural decline of property tax collection and a lot of year-end bills coming due. So, and I just, you know, I just bring this up to be to set the expectations. I know that the previous year's financials, you know, even though everything's not exactly apples to apples, it should give an idea of what kind of bills would be expected to be spent in, you know, this month in December, which are basically I think the months that you're missing as far as actual data for 2022. So I just wanted to mention that for, you know, for further, you know, research over the next, you know, couple weeks. I do want to point out to council that, you know, there was a budget exercise done in the summer where residents were able to put dots on different capital projects or programs. And I know the budget's tight. There's a lot of programs and projects that aren't funded in this budget. You know, things like tax abatement for low income seniors. The mayor had asked for additional full-time and part-time police officers on top of what was basically what we had at the beginning of the year, since there were, you know, some folks that left. There's not an annual paving program other than the alleys project that's funded by the grant. I know DPW was looking for replacement of some of their key equipment, like the street sweeper, replacement of the concrete floor in the DPW garage, the borough building roof, updated audio video equipment for the council chambers, permanent salt shed. Obviously those things can't all be covered at once. I just hope that when residents are asking for these things or asking about their roads being paved or tax abatement for low income seniors, because this has come up every year, I just want council to be prepared to explain, you know, that this is a, you know, conscious decision here to not fund those things. And I get that it's a tough decision, and I'm not, I mean, some of these things probably don't need to be funded for 2023, but things like roads, you know, we're behind on road paving. We didn't really budget any road paving for 2022. So that's going to come due, and that's going to be a problem if it's not addressed soon. And then I just want to reiterate that this budget is still not balanced. I'm not really seeing much discussion from council about how to close the deficit. If you don't deal with this now, you're going to have a harder time next year in balancing the budget. You're going to continue to eat into your fund balance and get back in the same hole we were in a few years ago. I'm hearing that this is going to be sent to the finance committee. I really don't think you should just be dumping it on the finance committee and hiding behind them at this point. This is being presented before the full council. Time is of the essence. The public's involved for discussion. I think I would like to see more discussion from council about how you're gonna deal with this and you know, Stephanie mentioned I think a 5 to 10% minimum fund balance policy, and I think or 3 to 4 months of operating expenses, and I'm seeing that as you know, 400 to 500,000, if not more. I'm skeptical that you're going to be reaching that at either at the beginning of 2023 or even at the end of 2023 with this budget. So I just want to caution council. I know a lot of people don't want to raise taxes, and I respect that, but part of that fiscal responsibility is also planning for the future and making sure it's this finances are sustainable. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
I'm still looking for this phone.
Danny Showalter, I see.
Go ahead, Dan.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Dan Showalter, 440 North Avenue. I just want to echo, I think it was Mike Rebecki who had stated earlier about the newsletter. I don't believe the borough should be in the business of funding the newsletter, like newspapers, newsletters, things like that. They are all propaganda, and it is very hard to keep biases out of things like print or digital media. So down the road, I think the borough could be liable for anything that would end up in the newsletter that could be blatantly false or things along those lines. It also starts the slippery slope of, if we fund the newsletter, why don't we fund the Garden Club or Sea Green or any of the other private institution, organizations, whatever term you want to use, in the borough? So I don't think it would be a good precedent to start. So that's just my 2 cents on that subject. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Jessica had her hand up.
Hi, Jessica Barone, 722 Bruno Street, downstairs level. So actually tend to agree with you, Danny, on your previous comments. I love the newsletter and I love that we have it in our community, but there's just so many community organizations, you know, hey, Verona Community Group is one of them that, you know, do try to get information out to the public, and kind of how do you pick and choose there? But primarily I want to ask, like, when that final budget's going to be posted. Sounds like maybe the 1st was the goal that Stephanie had to send that out. And I'm wondering if like the PowerPoint tonight could be shared with the community, and, you know, maybe if there's another PowerPoint that kind of explains some of things, like, I don't think it was clear what capital projects were going to be pursued. That would be helpful. I'm kind of disappointed, you know, my husband kind of said the same thing, but there's just not really been a lot of discussion tonight about what the council is planning to do to close the gap. You know, you have this negative fund balance right now, and I really think it's important for the public to hear conversation about what's going to be cut. Those are really hard decisions. And I do not envy your position in making them, but that's where the public can really share their input and help guide those decisions. And it's disappointing that you're not having them tonight. I don't know if there's just confusion or if folks weren't prepared and didn't have time to look at the budget. I saw it, you know, it just came out on Monday. But I would really love to hear more of that. I guess we'll hear it at the next meeting. I know also you talked at the very beginning, Stephanie, about that we're going to focus on the general fund and sewer fund and liquid fuels tonight, but there's, you know, a lot of money sitting there for ARPA funds on the table, and I'm wondering what those are, you know, planning to be used for. I think that should be really part of this financial planning discussion we're having for the next year. And also,
let's go.
What was that?
that was Danny not muted.
Oh, okay. She's getting the kids to bed. Okay. Thought someone was calling me out on time. I also was wondering what how inflation had been worked into this budget. I know you mentioned Stephanie, you felt like a lot of the estimates that I think Christine maybe had queued up were really high. And I don't know if that was because of inflation. You also said that even though you felt like there were a lot of things that were high, that you tend to run conservative and add a lot of extra padding. So, I don't know if that's, part of it. Things just cost so much more these days. So hopefully there's a lot of inflation that's, been considered in the budget, because we're already looking, at that negative fund balance. And I'm also a little bit disappointed that there's just no plan to address paying back the sewer fund yet again this year. I know it's really easy and convenient to forget about that, but I really do worry about what's going to happen, when we have a sewer emergency and we just can't afford to pay for it. And we're in a tricky situation. I know nobody wants to raise the taxes. I don't either. That's not really what anybody wants, but it's kind of just the way that the times are going. We want to make sure that we're able to pay for expenses that the borough has down the line, and being fiscally responsible is planning for those expenses too. So those are my comments and some questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Jessica. Anybody else?
There are no virtual hands raised. Mike Rybacki is,
Mike Rabacki, 716 Allegheny River Boulevard, third floor. First of all, I give the council an A+ for just having this budget meeting and transparency. Double A+. If a government's charter empowers it, newsletter item, 401-344 and 401-342. I'm asking that newsletter item be weak, but what I'm talking about is also 401-342 printing. If a government's charter empowers it, and if the government's bonding agency expects that governments are only limited to paying through things that are specifically delineated actions, then would not the legality of any side activity be called into question? With the newsletter, if 1,000 people in Verona, workers, donated as much as I have, they would have about $250 million this year in the budget. And as of last year, the average money that I was able to earn each year is about $29,000. This is my life. Not that that means anything, but I'm just saying I believe in the newsletter and I donate a large percentage of my income to it. I heard that in the previous meeting here that the idea was floated to have the government activities printed in the newsletter in the special section, and I think that's a great idea. Printing costs are considered a government function. In this manner, the borough can pay the newsletter the going rate for printed space to have its activities brought to the public, as it should. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
there are no virtual hands raised.
Steph, I'm just wondering if you know any of the answers of any of the questions, given that at least last year, so sort of more of a conversational meeting. I don't know, we may not know.
I mean, I know that we know what we could use ARPA for. There's, we know that that's where you're gonna see streets and technology and all of that being spent. Nobody's sitting on the money. It's just a matter of, there was never a budget for it. So now we have to create that budget. So that's what we're working towards. We understand that people are looking to have streets paved, and that's what that money's for. We are looking at all of those things. I mean, that's, but to ask to have a budget today for something that's never had a budget, it's going to take a little bit of time because it's a lot to learn, to look at and figure out exactly where it can be spent, where it cannot be spent.
I think it's reasonable to prioritize on what we have, and focus on ARPA next year with a high priority, as you mentioned, having a public.
I just want to say, just so we understand, the ARPA money, the way it's set up, it has to be allocated by December 31st, 2024. And spent by December 31st, 2026. So it's not like, I mean, yes, we want to use it for vital things, but it's not like we're in danger of losing it. At this point. We don't spend it by having for now.
I also want to make a comment because it's been brought up tonight many times that we're doing things different this year than we have done last year. And I'll repeat what past councils have said. We're not going to go by what was done in the past. We have a new council, we have a new council president, we have a new borough manager. So we're not going to dwell on what was done in the past. And we're going to move forward. And yes, it's a little different this year, but that's what happens when you get a different council or a different manager. And past councils have said, we're not going to try to emulate or reflect what the past has done. We're going to move forward. And I just want to remind everybody of that.
I'd like to comment on the sewer fund balance here. I think that number must include the money that is owed to it. Like, that's not real money. We don't really have 779,973. That, I'm just curious about these numbers and scratching my head about it. I'm not quite sure how that works. You know, I've just been on council a couple of months, so, but I just don't want people to think that the sewer fund has $786,000 or it's gonna have 706. I don't think that's real. I know stuff you told me about in the bank. I'm just confused by it because I just don't think that we have that. But I don't know how to explain it or understand it. I just think that number is so high. Very perplexed by that. Somehow I think it carries the $550,000 so dollars that is owed to it. So I just wanted to say that out loud because it seems unreal given where we were last year. I mean, yeah, in 2021. For the sewer.
So we have some things we should maybe double check on, including getting steps of missing like the audit.
I think the DC audit is on the website.
I've already looked at the DCED audit. That's a 2020, unless the one on the website for DCED is for 2020.
The one from 2021 is on there.
And not that I just noticed, I was on municipal stats, but I will continue to look.
Well,
That was something Christine was supposed to be updating the website with that before she left, but
I will check the website, but like I said, I just got on municipal stats.
well, the audit's in the office somewhere. Yeah. That's good.
So I will. I mean, but please understand, 90% of these numbers, including the negative numbers in the fund balance, were all numbers that were given to me through Christine. So I had no reason to believe that they were not correct.
Can I ask the goal of the finance meeting next week? Basically, I'm asking if you want to have a conversation now about the same with the fund or the minimum fund balance, or does the finance committee want to perhaps make a suggestion that.
I think if we want to have something to vote on next week, we need to have guidance from council of what we want for those money. If otherwise we come up with stuff and then we discuss it next week, or the stuff not going to be ready by December 1st.
Well, technically speaking, you just have to pass the budget by December 31st. So if it doesn't get posted on December 1st, from whenever we post it, it has to be posted for 10 days. And so, you know, if that means we have to have a workshop in December, short one, just to pass the budget, do that.
Well, let's not, put that in our path, but
That's not our goal.
we'll keep that in mind. But to Red's point, do we want to perhaps go around the table and say what we'd like to see for those two items that we, along with, any other comments?
So for the minimum fund balance, and
You have a question? What we at a 10% fund balance? What would that number be?
Let me,
Are we accepting public comment at this time? Dave Matlin has his hand up again.
I did find an audit.
yeah, it's on there.
Yeah, it says 6,000, the negative number 6,220,
The one Dave's.
6,000, so it's actually, we want to use that number if less. I'm not sure where the 51,000 came from. But that's 6,220 is what's on the audit. I mean, so that's actually a better number than the 51,000 we were using. 171, 377.50 would be 10%
Oh, right, sure. So
in the general fund.
It's 10% of that once.
Yeah,
1,700,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
171 what?
Just the number in the pink.
No, how much, what was it?
it's $171,338.
That's
would be-
10%.
That would be 10% in the fund balance.
And then just so I have this right, you're saying that fund balance, the way we're looking at it, is 400,000.
The way I looked at it, I mean, I've looked at expenses. I've done exactly what Mr. Matlin has asked about looking at what's coming in. Unless I'm truly missing something. That's where I'm at.
I'm saying we're looking at this, we're looking at it at having 400 and 10% would be
10% of the, but yeah. I looked,
170.
yeah.
Just even say 172.
I looked at the budget only raising, because I knew November and December would be low. I only added in about $30,000 in income. And the rest was complete expenses and still ended up at 398. So at that, almost close to that $400,000 mark. I have looked at, I've gone through July numbers. I've looked at every number I can think of at this point.
So even if we go and say, place a minimum fund balance of 200,000,
mhm.
we're better off on the budget side with doing that than the 400,000.
My comment is, I mean, this is not the way to budget. I completely understand that. But I also look at water rates just went up. I look at inflation just went up. And I know there's certain things that people want, and I understand that. But we have to look at, I mean, the good of all and not just the good of some. And that's what I'm trying to figure out right now.
I guess Trish's comment was, what's everybody thinking for the minimum fund balance? And
coming into tonight, I would have been happy to see it achieve 5%. But now it sounds like, we could do that and potentially more, depending what we want to do with the sewer, we could definitely continue to look at something that was shared, 100,000 that we would,
I agree.
I agree.
There's no doubt we know we need to pay it back. Fortunately, there's no interest or timetable, but you need to get it paid back eventually at some point. So if we do that, we can take that 400,000, split it down and put 200 in the minimum fund and maybe 100,000 for the sewer fund. And then you have like an extra 100,000 to work with for maybe a street here or there. So.
Yeah. And I mean, our goal would be, I mean, by no stretch of the imaginations, we have over $200,000 to spend with the American Recovery. That's going to pave streets.
Right.
That's going to, demolish. That's going to do technology. That's going to do all that stuff. Is it going to get senior citizen tax breaks? Trust me, I worked for RCAC for 11 years, and I'd love to say yes, but it's not yet. But I'm also not prepared, but you have to be prepared also to do some of this stuff, like to give senior citizens tax breaks. We're going to have to raise taxes. So are we robbing
Senior
people?
citizens got to realize too that there is the homestead.
And we will get them
yeah.
whatever discounts we can. We will bring in senior center officials into our building next year to help them. But I'm just afraid, I don't like being in the negative. I've never liked being in the negative, but I think we need to take this year, figure everything out, make sure we're all good. I mean, we are literally sitting here with 1, 2, 3 new members, a new president, a new borough manager, and we need 6 months to get everything together
so you suggest continuing with a conservative approach.
and just see where we go. And my hope is, and I mean, I would pray that I'm not standing here a year from now with a different answer, but I could be standing here a year from now saying we were all wrong. I don't know the answer yet, but 3 weeks isn't enough time to get to that answer.
So I have a question. Stephanie, you said something earlier about you took some time today to do some of the estimating.
I did some of the year to date.
Is there any way that you can,
I'm not comfortable releasing that until the council has seen it and until
I'm not saying yet, but I mean.
I will I will put it out.
Yeah.
Just give me a little time. I mean, I literally did that in 3 hours today, so I have to go back and check some things.
Sure.
I'll be honest with you. I think, having year-to-date numbers all the way to October was a pretty good way of making sure you could estimate the last 2 months. I'm sure there are some expenses that are different, but I also like I said, I only put $30,000 in income, and I'm convinced that's probably a very low number.
And I think we need to look, like Dave Matlin said, we need to look at the end of the year's expenses and the beginning of the year's for our minimum fund balance, see where we're at.
Yeah.
We can't drop that either, so.
And I will speak with, I do see the audit where it says $6,000 in the hole. But I also see bookbinders that says 51, so I'm gonna try to figure that out, but if it's only 6,000, hey.
We're looking a lot better.
Well, that's as of the end of the year of 2021.
Correct.
And you're telling bookbinder told you.
It was 51,000 at the end. That's what Christine had written in all the budgets that we used to calculate our numbers. So I have to figure that out.
I'm personally fine with anything between 5 and 10%, and as long as we pay something to the sewer fund, if that helps finance committee.
I agree.
I mean, as long as it's minimum 5%. And if we could adjust that to, 6 or 7 or 8, then
Even 10.
depending on, even if we can get it up to 10, but and chip a little bit away at the sewer fund, then if that helps you guys
And
out.
we gotta put something, we know we gotta.
Yes,
pay it back.
yes.
Absolutely.
We just can't ignore it, so, but anything is a step in the right direction, and. I mean, 2 years ago, we didn't have a minimum fund balance, we didn't have any balance, so. This is a great discussion to be having compared to 2 years ago, or even last year. I mean, last year we cut everything. We paved no roads, we did nothing.
I think the concept of the minimum fund balance was brought forward for the first time ever. As far as I know, in Verona.
I mean, I've heard it before. I've heard it 10, 15 years ago. It's
I
just,
mean,
it was brushed off and.
nobody's saying, and I mean, nobody's saying that you can budget in the hole. We're not, nobody's saying that.
A lot of towns do that.
I mean, a lot, I mean, you know, but if I'm gonna look at a 20, you know, a 20-something $1 million, $2 million almost $2.8 million budget. And I'm gonna be a little bit of more okay if it's $30,000 to $50,000. You can't sustain that, I understand that, but I also can't see saying to you right at this moment in time, that this is the time to raise. I'm not saying next year that's not coming.
I agree. We raised taxes significantly last year also, and I don't think that. We're talking about inflation, we're talking about. Times being rough and. To raise taxes 2 years in a row, after we raised taxes last year and did not, like I said, we didn't pave any roads. A lot of people in town are gonna be like, you raise taxes and what'd they go for? They're not gonna understand the dilemma we're in. And then they're gonna raise them again. I agree with what Stephanie's saying.
Sylvia, do you have any thoughts to share on the sewer fund and the minimum fund balance?
No, I totally respect what Stephanie's saying and Vince, very much so.
Didn't we at the last meeting, or regular meeting, was it a regular meeting or a workshop? Didn't we do a few resolutions for paving? That's putting in grants for.
Yeah,
paving,
Matt
correct?
Matt put in for grants for paving,
Yeah.
those would be for 2024.
Oh, 2024.
But that doesn't mean we can't use ARPA funding
Right.
for paving in 2023. It's just everything bidding wise and getting somebody to do it. Roads are like top on all of our lists. So is demolition of some of the homes that need to be.
Which can be ARPA funds.
So all of that's like right on the top of our, you know, list. It's just. You know, we're looking at grant funding instead of trying to take it out of the general fund.
Right.
We do have a significant paving project coming up this year in Sylvan. So that's not a small job. It's a pretty long stretch of road.
Is that on this capital?
Yes, it is.
It's a grant I believe we've already received. For Sylvan Way. Couple other alleys,
Yeah,
yeah,
you got alley reconstructions.
We do have paving being done this year.
yeah, which is a lot better than we did in 2022. We did no paving, zero.
So on this capital plan that I'm looking at, the $164,400 is there for what you were just referring to. Vince.
Yes,
And under ARPA eligible, it says more research is needed. Now, have we determined?
We cannot use ARPA funds for local matches.
yeah, you're not allowed to do
You're
that.
not allowed to do
They
that.
brought that up last year, and the year before that. So ever since 2020, we thought at first that you could, and then you can't use it to match any
Okay,
grants.
So the deal is, we already have this grant that we probably got before we knew we were gonna get all this ARPA money.
It wouldn't have mattered. It's a grant. No, we probably got this grant while we had the ARPA money.
Yeah, I think this just came in at the beginning of this year. It
I think
was
so.
all finalized.
Yeah, it's a GEDTF grant. It'll cost us approximately $25,000, but will come out of it's already in our budget. And the money will run through COG and all of that.
Does the money run through the card or will run through us?
Will not run through us. If it says funds run through borough, no, that means the funds do not run through the borough at all.
Okay, so for the alleyway,
It passes through the funds and fund to the next to the last small one.
That's the amount of money the borough's gonna get for it.
okay. Well, and partly I ask these questions for clarification for whoever's listening as well. But if the money is passing through the borough,
It doesn't
But it says
necessarily
no.
mean pass through the borough. What it means is that's what the borough essentially gets.
but physically. we
It will
don't get
not,
that money.
we will not physically see it.
It's through the home. That's the borough.
I see that.
Fund to-
Yeah.
Everything's gonna pass by the borough some way or another because we're gonna be signing the paperwork, getting the bids and all of that stuff.
They tell us the other day, like, this stuff that passes through but not the funds is, Matt kind of signs off. on it,
Matt-
says it's
Matt
done,
does-
So they pay it.
Yeah, Matt does all of that work.
And we'll just have to pay the 25,000.
Yes. And that's already in the budget.
And there were several grants, and I honestly don't remember them specifically, that we talked about toward the end of 2021. And Matt kept saying, because we were worried about the 22 budget, he kept saying, yeah, but by the time we do all this, it'll come into 2023.
There is what happens. We pass resolutions at our last business meeting for grants that will go through in 24.
Right, so those matches will get in 20.
So we have already started, I mean, and I think almost quite a few of the grants, the resolutions we signed were for road paving and stuff like that. So we're not ignoring that. We're just looking for different avenues to pay that so that we can continue to fix the roads and continue to run the borough.
So we'll use the ARPA funds, anything we decide to use the road paving will be in addition to the stuff. listed here on your map.
And there'll be addition to what he wrote grants for. And I don't think we want all of the road paved all at once.
Oh,
Maybe,
No, because then you don't have any roads to drive on doing it.
I mean, I don't have to come to work, but
Go on the road here. 1 month.
you know, the things we looked at, if you go down below into the yellow, we did put in the $200,000 for the sewer fund. That is the that's the multi-year plan to line the system. We've talked, wish list, $20,000. These were things that are on top of our list to remove 3 or 4 structures. And then $100,000 for grants and that for streets, and that will come out of ARPA.
That 200,000. We're doing that for sure.
Yes,
Is that able to knock off money
Yes.
off the sewer fund?
yes.
So if we put that towards the, however much, 500,000, now that takes that fund down.
Yeah, and I'm checking exactly on where we're at. Like I said, I will be working on that. But some of the things they told us we could write off to pay back the sewer fund were expenses for employees, like for all of us who work on sewer
Mhm.
stuff. And trust me, DPW and all of us work on
Anything
sewer.
sewer
fund.
related.
Anything sewer related. We're using sewer fund dollars to pay for that because we have to get those sewer lines done. That's an Alcoasand thing, we have to get them done. It's a multi-year project. I think the last time, when I was here, before I was hired, Matt said we were at 56%.
I don't remember all the numbers, but
We're getting there, but we have to get to 100. So,
I guess my point is, we put that 200,000 towards that.
Yeah.
To the sewer fund.
and I will check on all of this and make sure.
Wouldn't we just use sewer fund money?
We're going to use sewer fund money, but as you expense that out of
You can deduct your debit.
you can debit off your what you owe.
So if we owe back 100,000 saying the sewer fund, we can put this 200,000 towards that. We're down to 300,000.
So that's a big question.
I don't think we have $200,000 in the general fund to pay for this.
let me figure out exactly how this all works.
Okay. Yeah.
Because there's ways to make this, there's ways to pay back the sewer fund. We all understand that we need to get the sewer fund paid back.
Right.
We all understand, you know, I guess it's around 500. I will work on that. But we're getting there. We're working on it. We're not ignoring it by any stretch of the imagination.
I think it's great that we're continuing to look for creative ways of moving forward on the different priorities that have been identified by the community. While minimizing the tax impact in the near term. Inevitably, you'll recognize we will have to be talking at some point, but right now, with the board having just raised them, with what we already mentioned about the
Sanitary.
sanitary increase that are beyond it. So I think it's great if we continue as suggested in this conservative approach. Also being creative.
We'll keep.
Anybody have anything else?
And I want to say this other thing is brought up was about the technology in council chambers, which is also something that can be done with ARPA money.
Right.
So, just because it's not in the budget, doesn't mean we're ignoring it and not, we're just not looking at that yet. because we haven't
There has been a lot of
organized this.
discussion.
The communication committee that's number one on our priority right now. So after the holidays, we will, beginning of the year, we will start evaluating and assessing how to upgrade the tech. So.
Anybody in the audience have anything else to add to the comment?
No, that's his cursor.
Dave, I saw you had your hand up earlier. Do you want to say something? Dave Madeline.
Oh,
Yeah,
Dave
and the
Ma-
mayor, if you did.
Yeah, I was just trying to point out that the DCD audit was on the borough website under finances. It's the 2021 audit, but I think Stephanie found it.
I did
Thanks,
find
Phil.
it. What I do need to figure out, Dave, is where where Christine got the 51 compared to the audit at 6,200. I like your number way better. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a better number. The 51,000 came from that was the budgeted estimate, because when we did the budget for 2022, all we could do, you know, this was exactly a year ago, all we could do was estimate the end of the year for the fund balance. And so we estimated negative 51. The audited value came in at -6, which is actually better. So that should be, as far as I can tell, the number that should be used going forward. But I mean, a call to Peter Vancheri, you know, the auditor would also help alleviate that too.
Yeah, I will call him. I know him very well, so I will give him a call.
Dave, thanks for your input.
Thank you so much.
One more thing?
Mike Rabacki, 716 Allegheny River Boulevard. As far as the taxes, it might be, here's an idea, is just to see what boroughs our size across the United States, across Pennsylvania, and Allegheny County, what the general tax rate is. So at least we can compare ourselves to that. And if it's lower, if we're too low, at least we can see what the future is and how much.
We did that last year. We did that extensively last year in very great detail.
Right on the dot there.
Yes.
Be careful when you do that, because towns are different sizes, their housing property value is different in every town. So, you know, you could have a town that has a really low tax base, but their property value median is like $200,000.
Yeah, you
Did
could
you-
look at Oakmont.
Did you say that our budget meeting from last year is online?
It is.
You could go online and watch our budget meeting from last year, and all those numbers are given in that meeting.
The first 10 minutes are silent because there was something going on in the town.
But it's not in the first 5 minutes. Christine touched on that 100 times in that meeting.
And she did a presentation similar to Stephanie's tonight. It was longer because we were explaining to the community how we got to where nobody understood it, and she was explaining all of that. And all the slides show up. You just can't hear her until 10 minutes.
But she goes over it many times, what the
Yeah.
similar municipalities' tax rates are,
Right,
what
well,
our tax rates are, how many years it's been since we actually raised taxes, all that stuff.
Another thing, having said that, we're pretty close to meeting all the studies done as a taxpayer. I would kind of almost like to see something that's more steady as opposed to something that's like all of a sudden like a big tax and then a few years goes by and there's nothing, and another big one. I'd like to see something that's kind of steady all along. You know?
I think we all agree with you on
Yeah, we
that.
all agree with you on that.
Small, medium,
Like small,
that
like
would be.
$500,000.
Yeah, instead of ignoring a problem for 8 years and then having to play catch up, I understand. I don't see any other virtual hands raised. And
If we have nothing else, then I would take the motion to adjourn. First by
Second,
Tim, second by Rid. Any questions? All in favor?
I,
Against? Passed. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I hope it was informative enough. Maybe not informative enough for some people, but we appreciate all the questions, comments, the concerns. And we will do our best to work to get this squared away. Thank you.